As I stand before you delivering this speech, I can expect two kinds of responses. Halfway through the talk, I may realize that no one is listening anymore. I might get disheartened, retreat into myself, somehow thank you half-heartedly, and get back to my chair. On the other hand, if I find the whole lot of you listening to me attentively, something remarkable would happen. I will go beyond and reveal a little more than I intended. I, the speaker, you, the listeners, will become almost one for a while. Dear friends, so great is the power of listening. Many great friendships and even some marriages have begun this way. Several complicated problems have been solved in this way, just by listening. Everyone loves a good listener. So does God. Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, we live in a world of noise. The technological advancement and the consequent betterment of human lifestyle have prompted man to seclude from others and to retreat into himself. He creates his own world through a smartphone and an unlimited internet connection. In the business of our religious life too, we somehow run the risk of forgetting to listen. We give a deaf ear to the world around us. But, dear friends, in this pursuit of success, if we call it, we miss something. Among the noise and chatters of this world, there is a whole lot of people who just need someone to speak to share their feelings of pain, abandonment, and misery. Among the clamors of this noisy world, there is a God who speaks to each one of us in the sheer silence, and we miss Him. In this scenario, I find it most fitting to present our Blessed Virgin Mother as the perfect example of a good listener. She listened both to God and to her neighbor. In her we see someone who in her lifetime spoke very little, but continues to be one of the most influential women just by her life of ceaseless listening. Though she makes herself known very little in the scriptures, even her occasional silence speaks volumes to us. So, during these few minutes, let us take a quick tour through the Bible with Mary as our guide and learn from her the great art of listening. Mary makes her entry in the Gospels during the occasion of the Annunciation of the birth of Jesus Christ. Though overwhelmed by doubt and surprise, she wastes no time presenting before the angel silly words of excuses or a long list of her limitations. Instead, she listens attentively, intently, and obediently, and utters just two sentences, one of which is the greatest statement of self-surrender ever pronounced in the human history. Let it be done to me according to your word. Saint Ephraim does not err when he says that it is through her ears that the word entered and dwelt secretly in her womb. Mary's listening does not stop here. The angel departs, so does Mary. She sets out to a hill country where she renders selfless service to her cousin Saint Elizabeth, a noble gesture of extending one's listening ear to those in need. We see Mary again striding to Bethlehem, giving birth to the King of Kings in a manger, staring at old Simeon who delivers a horrifying prophecy, treading to the land of pyramids, coming back to Nazareth, all without uttering a single word. One cannot but marvel at her unquestioned listening to God and to her spouse Joseph. A dozen of years later, Mary appears again at the Temple of Jerusalem after the 3-day search for her 12-year-old son. Fully aware of her responsibility to the mission entrusted by the Father, Mary pronounces few words of concern. Son, why have you done this to us? You see, your father and I had been searching for you in sorrow. To this, boy Jesus gives a startling response which should doubtlessly wound the heart of any mother on earth. But Mary does not speak anything in response. She listens to him, treasures his strange words in her heart, and ponders over them from time to time. After this event, Jesus goes incognito with Mary. 18 years later, we see her again among the wedding guests at a feast in Cana of Galilee. Even in the midst of indistinct chatters and deafening clamors of the celebration, Mary does not fail to listen. Instead, her commendable act of listening paves way for the first miracle of Jesus and his public life that followed. This occasion is also special owing to the fact that it is the last time that Mary speaks to each one of us in the Bible. Her last words, "Do whatever he tells you," is an exhortation to each one of us to listen to Jesus, even if he sounds crazy to us. If Mary had ever fascinated that her son would become the King of Kings in its literal sense, the events that followed in her life after that wedding reception would have shattered her completely. What trailed must have shaken her faith totally. As a mother, she had to see her son rising in popularity for a while, but criticized, conspired against, held as a criminal, insulted, scourged, stripped off, crucified, and killed ruthlessly. In the Gospels, we see her the last time standing beneath the cross, silent, listening to the parting words of her son. I am sure that then she would not have understood the meaning of those events in her life. Nevertheless, as Reverend Michael Kennedy, the Archbishop of Armidale, suggests, Mary listened to those events in her heart to find their true and full meaning and to find the will of God in them for her. Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, so evident and so powerful was the quality of listening in the obscure life of our Blessed Mother. I can say that her life had been an oscillation between listening to God and listening to her neighbor, and that's precisely the challenge that Mary is posing to each one of us today. Unfortunately, the demands of the world around us and that of our mission force us to keep the pace in our pursuit of success. But Mary's life calls us to make a pit stop from time to time, look around, seek out the helpless, lend them a listening ear, and extend to them a helping hand. Her life exhorts us to give heed to the promptings of the Almighty, who knocks constantly at the doors of our hearts, and to make a commitment to Him as she did. And I think this is exactly what the Church intends when she chose the aspect of listening as one of the priorities of the Global Synod 2023. Because every voice counts. As I conclude this talk, let me re-enunciate the powerful and insightful words of Pope Francis. It is not always easy to listen. Sometimes it's more comfortable to play deaf, put on the earphone, and not listen to anyone. So easily we can replace listening with emails, messages, and chats. In this way, we deprive ourselves of looks, embraces, and faces. Dear brothers and sisters, during this month, as we venerate our Blessed Mother, let us incline our ears to God and to those around us. Let us try to pair out for ourselves a little silence so that we can better listen to God and to our neighbor and respond to their needs as Mary did.